Welcome to the Psychology of True Crime with me, RC. Sometimes the story that stays with us isn't the one with the biggest headlines, it's the ones with the deepest human conflict. And the case of Dan Markel is exactly that, a story that has lived online for years, not because of shock value, but because of psychological tension, the kind that pulls people in and refuses to let go. Today, I want to explore the hidden psychology behind this case. What happens when family pressure, romantic turmoil, and emotional loyalty collide so intensely that the fallout spreads far beyond the original conflict? Not from a legal angle, but from a psychological one. Before we begin, I want to be very clear. Several individuals have been convicted, including Charlie Adelson, Donna Adelson, Catherine Magbanua, Sigfredo Garcia, and Luis Rivera. Others, including Wendy Adelson, have not been charged and deny any involvement. Everything I share comes from public testimony, court records, and psychological theory. This is an analysis, not an accusation. At the center of this case is a loss that ripples through two boys, a grieving family, and a community searching for answers. Dan Markel was a father and a man whose life mattered. And as someone who has lost my own sibling, I understand how violence leaves a permanent scar on a family. That is why I approach this story with compassion and not sensationalism. Every case that goes viral shares one psychological thread. And in this story, that question is layered. A high conflict divorce, two children, a family divided, testimony that shifted over time, and a strategy that left the public sensing something deeply unfinished. Viewers did not attach to this case just because of what happened, but because of what it left behind: fractures, uncertainties, and the sense that something profoundly human had been interrupted. This is the first anchor of vitality. People weren't just watching a legal process, they were watching a family dynamic unfold in slow motion: shifts in closeness, silence where warmth used to be, loyalty pulling people in opposite directions, interpersonal tensions causing generations, and two children caught in the middle. It left it felt less like a courtroom drama and more like a family psychology documentary happening in real time, in a family system that behaves like a character in a story. One of the most striking psychological patterns in this case is something known as enmeshment family system, a concept created by Salvador Minuchin in structural family therapy. Enmeshed families are deeply bonded, sometimes too deeply. Their boundaries blur, emotions fuse. Adult children feel responsible for their parents' happiness, fears, and their disappointments. In a recorded call, Charlie tells Donna, "You worry about everything, just relax." A small moment, but revealing the emotional overlap. Many observers sensed that in this system, a divorce didn't feel like the end of a marriage. It felt like a betrayal of an entire family identity. In high conflict divorces, we often see a distortion called splitting, seeing someone as all good or all bad. Instead of saying something like, "This relationship didn't work," it becomes, "You destroyed my life." This thinking narrows perspective, intensifies emotions, and makes disagreements feel like emergencies. When you add children, splitting can turn into wildfire. Fear of losing access can distort reality, magnify anger, and fuel obsession. But the psychological storm didn't stay contained within the family, it spilled outward, searching for people already vulnerable to the emotional pool. This is where Catherine Magbanua and Sigfredo Garcia enter the picture. Both have been convicted. But my focus here is on why people like Katie and Sigfredo could get pulled into conflicts that were never theirs. In psychology, there's a concept called a fused pair, where two people are locked together through trauma, jealousy, financial strain, loyalty, unresolved wounds, and shared instability. Katie and Sigfredo fit this pattern. They share history, they shared children, they shared volatility, and they shared a relationship dynamic where emotions and decisions were deeply intertwined. Katie was also caught in what psychology calls the middle position, a place where known to be extremely dangerous. On one side, she had Sigfredo, the father of her two children, tied to the past, often volatile. And on the other side, according to prosecutors, connections to a wealthy, high pressured family system with a lot of expectations and a long pattern of influence. She didn't only know Charlie, she had also met Donna, Wendy, and Harvey. Middle figures often become bridges between emotional worlds and practical worlds. And once someone steps into the middle space, they rarely walk away without consequences. Some family cultures develop a powerful sense of entitlement, the belief that normal rules don't apply and that obstacles are personal, such as a custody ruling, a disagreement, the word no, even a relocation request. When entitlement takes root, threats become intolerable. Combine that with the fear of losing your children, and psychological pressure becomes overwhelming. Fear can distort judgment, shift priorities, and turn emotional conflict into dangerous obsessions. Another reason this case stayed alive online is because it's constantly evolving through time. Custody filings, appeals, changing testimonies, new witnesses, new interpretations, and multiple trials spanning nearly a decade. Most stories end. This one kept on unfolding. It became its own ecosystem where emotion, psychology, family conflict, and public curiosity intercepted. Dan Markel is a major reason the public remains so invested. He wasn't a headline, he was a father, a son, a brother, a friend. The more people learn about him, the more protective they feel. His story becomes less about what happened and more about what and who was lost. In many places, the online community became a voice for a man who could no longer speak. People don't crave punishment, they crave clarity, a clean emotional line. But in the Dan Markel case, the clarity has never fully arrived. And because of that, the story remains alive in conversations, in analysis, and in the hearts of those who follow the case. Some stories go viral because they shock us, others stay with us because they remind us of ourselves, our families, our hopes of fairness, our confusion about human behavior, and our longing to understand the people we lose. The Markel case endures because it isn't just a story. It's a human one. It's a human story about conflict, psychology, and a father whose life mattered. My mission on this channel is not to accuse, but to understand. Because when we understand the psychology behind tragedies like this, maybe another family could avoid the same fate. To Dan Markel's family, to his children, your story matters, and it always will. This is the psychology of true crime. Thank you for caring about stories with depth and with compassion. And I will catch you guys on the next one.